Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
An absolute embarrassment once again, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Mets finding a new way to lose every single night during this streak. I have just been repeating myself for about, I don't know, almost 2 full weeks now during this horrific stretch of baseball that we are watching from the New York Mets. And it continues, and in a new, painful, ugly, horrible, disgusting fashion that makes me not ever want to watch baseball ever again. Another horrific loss for the Mets. As today, no, it's not the starting pitching. No, instead, you actually get 5 scoreless innings in the season debut for Frankie Montas. Who would have guessed? Not I, not you, I don't think, not many of us Met fans out there. After what we saw him do in his minor league rehab assignment, and he comes out and delivers. The first Met to give us 5 innings pitched in, I don't know, almost a full week. And what do the Mets do? After scoring 3 runs for him, the Mets bullpen absolutely vomits all over itself in one of the most horrible innings that I have seen in some time. I feel like I've said that 5 times this week, and it just keeps happening. The Mets drop another one to the Braves. They have yet to beat them this year. That is 5 consecutive losses to Atlanta. That is now 1-7 in this 10-game stretch against the Phillies and against the Braves. And I am pissed the F off. What's up, guys? I'm Tony Metro. If you guys are new to the channel, I do daily Mets content. We do post-game recap after every single Mets game. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already, and leave this video a like. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way toward helping out the channel. If you guys want to join the show live, you can call into my Discord. You can do it right now. Phone lines are open. Link to that is in the description below. Just go over to my Discord channel and I'll pop you in when I'm ready to start taking calls. But there's a lot to talk about because the New York Mets once again have crapped all down their own leg. Who could write this stuff? God hates Mets fans. That's all I can believe at this point. What is that Bruce Almighty line? God is a big man with a magnifying glass, and we are all tiny little ants on an anthill. That is how it has felt to be a Mets fan over this stretch of baseball that we have been witnessing. And it's just a new painful way for them to lose once again here this evening at the hands of the devil worshiping, devil magic using Atlanta Braves that always seem to find a way to beat the Mets. They'll lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins over the weekend, but when they come to play the Mets, it's their World Series. Talk about tryhards putting in their closer, Raisel Iglesias, when it was a 7-3 ball game, even with an out in that one and the bottom of the order. I hope they run his arm into the ground and he's unavailable. I don't want him personally to get hurt. That's bad. I wouldn't do that. But if the Braves are going to utilize him the way they have against us, like this is their World Series, then they deserve to unfortunately have him go down. So if that's what happens out of all of this, well, sorry, Braves, but you kind of brought it upon yourselves because the way the Braves have been playing against the Mets is just uncanny. I mean, clutch hitting, 2 outs, 2 strikes, again off of Reed Garrett today in the 6th inning, who came in only because he had to clean up the puke pile that Huascar Brazoban and Jose Castillo left behind them, as they give up 5 runs in that inning. Again, just like the opener in Atlanta, Reed Garrett, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and what do the Braves do but hit a clutch 2-run, 3-run, multi-run scoring base hit to give them the lead. And last week's it was to tie the game for Ozuna. Tonight it's Matt Olson, that punchable face Matt Olson, delivering for them with the 2-run single to put them ahead in a 5-run 6th inning. I am at a loss for words. I have never truly ever seen a stretch of baseball this bad. I mean, for a team with the expectations, for a team that was 22 games over 500, the fall from grace that they have had is unlike anything that I have ever witnessed or ever could have imagined after getting swept by Tampa Bay. I knew this wouldn't be an easy 10-game stretch. I probably would have been happy with 5-5. Right now, I'd be doing a tap dance. I would be doing backflips if the Mets were 5-5 in this 10-game stretch against the Phillies and against the Braves. Instead, They are now 1-7. They have dropped 6 games to the Atlanta Braves. It's just unbelievable what has happened to this team. They are free falling and they need to do something about it. And clearly something is off about this team right now. They are lethargic at the plate today. They barely scratch out 4 hits, 5, I guess, after Ronnie Mauricio's RBI double in the 9th inning. They had 3 hits in the 9th. They entered the 9th inning with 2 hits in this game. One of them, Brett Beatty's 2-run single. Other than that, just a measly other base hit in this game before they put together 3 more in the 9th. You get 5 innings of scoreless ball from Frankie Montas, who was able to get out of some danger in the early going. And the Mets waste his start. Just like yesterday, the Mets wasted 4 1/3 scoreless innings from the bullpen. Like I've been saying this entire time, one day it's the bullpen that doesn't get the job done. The next day, the starting pitcher didn't perform well. And pretty much the one constant throughout this entire horrible stretch of dreadful baseball has been the lineup that again comes up small. 2 hits entering the 9th inning in this one. 6 hits yesterday, 5 hits on Sunday against the Phillies. It might have actually been 4 in that Sunday finale in Philadelphia. It's one thing one day, it's another thing the next day. It has been a vicious cycle of crap from this Mets baseball team in every different possible facet. And it's the sign of a bad team. It's getting to the point where you just have to kind of accept maybe that this is who they are, because they're finally playing some stiff competition. They're NL East rivals, and they don't look like they belong on the same field with Atlanta. How does an Atlanta team that just went to Miami and lost 2 out of 3 bitch slap the Mets last week in their park and come to our stadium and do the exact same thing? Explain that to me. Let's go to the chat. Nico, what's up, man? How you doing? Robert Lupinacci, heads gotta roll. Yeah. How about we start with Eric Chavez, because this lineup sucks. Start with Eric Chavez. That's number 1. David Stearns better start making some big improvements on this team as well. He brings us Ricky Dicky Lovelady, whatever the hell the guy's name is. And what happens? He gives up another run in the 8th inning. That actually turns out to be kind of important, because the Mets claw back for a run in the 9th. They get Lindor up there with 2 men aboard. He rolls out. Okay, but it's a 7-3 game entering the 9th because Dicky Lovelady, the latest David Stearns genius signing, gives up 2 runs there in the top of the 8th. And what do the Mets do after the Braves score 5 runs in the 6th inning? Roll over, ground out, strikeout from Pete Alonso, completely lifeless, nothing in the 7th or in the 8th or in the bottom of the 6th. It's like this Mets team gets punched in the face 1 inning and they just fall down. They don't get back up. They get punched in the face and they quit. There's no fight in this Mets team right now. No fight whatsoever. When they go down by 2, it feels like 20. They give up a couple big runs. The offense doesn't do crap. The offense actually finally scores. The bullpen can't give you a shutdown inning. The starting pitchers don't go 5. They cannot find a way to click on all cylinders if their lives depended on it right now. And meanwhile, the Braves just keep climbing and climbing and climbing closer to us in the National League East. And the National League East lead for the Phillies continues to get bigger. 1.5 entering play tonight. They were playing Houston. It was a 0-0 ball game late in that one. I don't even have it in my power to look at that score right now, because it might have me flip my desk over that I am sitting at here right now. And then I couldn't continue screaming at you guys here. So that would be bad for everybody. But if you guys do want to call in and join the chat, you guys can be a live part of the show here. Call in on my Discord. Link is in the bio or description, whatever they call it here on YouTube. How are you guys feeling? Because for me, it's panic level 10. It's at the all-time as high as it can get. It goes to 10 on the panic level. And once you reach that point, if it continues to snowball and spiral and continue to get worse, it only just becomes What's that word? Epileptic? No. Epileptic is when you're really upset. Empathy? No, there's another word. I'm talking to my girlfriend here, trying to think if she could think of the right word. Anyway, then it just becomes apathy. Apathy, where you don't even care anymore, where you start to give up, where you realize this is who they are, and there's nothing that you could do about it. Because right now, this roster they're trotting out there is embarrassing. I've been saying it for 2 weeks straight. Just embarrassing. Now that I have my brain fart there, here we go. Nico, if we don't release him or trade him during the deadline, I'm going to crash out about Brazaban you're talking about, Nico. Yeah, Brazaban has been terrible lately. And part of it is on Brazaban, obviously, but I truly do also have to blame the rest of this bullpen not getting the job done. Guys getting injured. David Stearns bringing in horrible, horrible replacements. Just guys that he was throwing against the wall to see if they could stick. And it forced Huascar Brazaban and it forced Reed Garrett to pitch a ridiculous amount of high leverage innings for the first 2 months of this season. And we all loved those two guys then, right? We loved Brazaban and we loved Reed Garrett for how good they were doing. Thank God, Robert. Philly lost 1-0. Thank you for letting me know. So the Mets still a game and a half behind the Phillies. At least they don't lose ground on them, but we do lose ground on the Braves, who are getting closer and closer. They are breathing down our necks now. We are almost as close to third place now as we are to first place. A little bit of an exaggeration, but considering the circumstances over the last week and a half, it's looking that way more and more by the day. Back to Reed Garrett and to Brazaban, though. Look, yeah, they suck right now. They've been crap lately. But guess what? They're the only two guys that we can actually rely on in a high leverage spot like this lately. And unfortunately, they're not getting the job done. And I blame it on the fact that they have constantly had to be the guys that heed that call from Carlos Mendoza in the bullpen in the biggest spots during the game of this entire season. And they're worn out. They're worn out. And there's no reinforcements. Chris Stavinsky, Waddell. I mean, the list goes on and on of scrubs that David Stearns has brought up to the big league roster, hoping that would actually fill a need for this team. Ty Adcox, Tyler Zuber. It is a rotating door of crap coming up from Syracuse, coming up from off the street. So yeah, I'm pissed at Brazaban. I'm pissed at Reed Garrett. But I'm pissed at David Stearns for not finding some supplemental arms to fix this bullpen, especially after the injury to Minter and to Danny Young and losing Max Kranick. I'm not asking for panic moves, trade the farm for any big type of arm that's even available on the market right now, but find me some legitimate MLB pitchers, because those guys are not, and now we're seeing Reed Garrett and Brazaban's performance suffer from their overuse. Stoney, what's up, man? How you doing? Everyday Mets, Beatty swing 3-1 in the ninth inning was just awful. Yeah, pretty much. You know, you get a 2 RBI hit from Beatty, and then he has a horrible at bat like that one. Got into it with the home plate umpire after he got called out on strikes. I think that was a strike on Beatty, but that home plate umpire was dog crap the entire night, and specifically against the Mets. Not blaming that for the reason the Mets lost. The Mets crapped themselves tonight, but that home plate umpire was horrific for the Mets all night long. Philip Wingo, the only thing consistent about the Mets against the Braves is how consistently pathetic they are. Could not have put it any better myself, Philip. Poetic by you right there. The Mets are an absolute dumpster fire when it comes to playing the Braves. I thought it was really only exclusive to when they go down to Atlanta. They have proven me wrong. They are horrible against the Braves no matter where they play. They could be playing in Africa, and the Braves would whoop the crap out of the Mets. We just have to eat our crow at this point. The Braves own the Mets. 5 games this year, 5 embarrassing losses, all in different ways. Starting pitching doesn't do well, bullpen doesn't do well, Mets don't hit. It's always something different during this latest stretch for the Mets. Stoney, Stoney, I blame this on Mendoza. Every time we got a pitcher that does good, we got to take him out early. Way to go, Mendoza. So you're probably referring to him pulling Frankie Montas. Look, unfortunately, Montas didn't go too far into any of his minor league rehab assignments. It's his first start back here in the major, so I don't even blame Mendy for not letting Montas go out for the 6th inning. If he would have put Brazaban in the 7th, would it have been any different of a situation, though? because Braziban at this point has been one of our top 3 most trusted arms in the bullpen, along with Garrett and, of course, with Edwin Diaz. So if you let Montas go out for the 6th and he's successful, well, then you're going to end up pitching Braziban in the 7th anyway. And is it going to be any different? I don't think so. And that is where it falls on David Stearns for me, for not fixing this bullpen. Carson says this all started when they let Michael Conforto go. Okay, Carson. Carson from Mets Weekly, you guys all know him. He is a big Conforto stan. I don't know. I haven't heard you talk about him for a long time there, Carson, but you're kind of right. I'm just saying, maybe we need to reunite with Michael Conforto and that will fix everything. I don't think so. Got bigger fish to fry. But look, Stoney, I hear you. Would have been nice to see Montas go out for the 6th inning, but in the end, you couldn't even get a single inning of scoreless relief from this Mets bullpen tonight. So what were you going to do? You burned out Jose Butto. You wasted his amazing performance yesterday by not being able to cash in late in that one and steal a win in that 3-2 loss. And unfortunately, Reed Garrett on back-to-back nights just didn't have it. He almost nearly tight-roped out of that one again, trying to clean up the mess behind Castillo and behind Braziban. But 2 outs, 2 strikes. What did the Braves do? Always find a way to come through. I'm almost convinced these guys have buzzer, okay? I am almost convinced they are doing what the Houston Astros do. Specifically, though, only against the Mets, because the way they can do these things against the Mets that they can't seem to do against anybody else in the big leagues on their schedule is just insanity. I just don't understand how it happens time after time after time again, and only against the Mets. It doesn't make sense. Devil magic from the Braves. The devil magic is alive and well. It's unbelievable. Let's see. Nico says Stoney couldn't agree more as far as Mendy pulling Frankie Montas after the 5th. Robert Lupinacci, thank you for letting me know. Philly did lose 1-0 to the Mets. Don't lose ground on them, only to the Braves. Stoney says, and we bring in Young, he can't even hit worth beans. Well, typically not, but of course, I was ready to have that on my agenda for tonight's post-game recap. But Young actually does pinch hit and get a single there in the 9th inning to keep the line moving. So I can't even crap on Jared Young tonight, as much as that's one of my favorite pastimes. But unfortunately, we got to lay off Jared Young at least for 24 hours. We'll see how he finds a way to screw everything up tomorrow, because I'm sure he will be in the lineup against a right-hander. Let's see, 2 Cats there, missing the playoffs 100%. Whoa, bold call there from 2 Cats, thinking the Mets might actually miss the playoffs this year. And folks, if this continues on, it could possibly go that way. I don't think the Mets are going to continue losing 9 out of 10, 10 out of 11 games for the rest of the year. That's ridiculous. But if they continue to lose ground to Philly and let the Braves creep back into this race with the way that the rest of the National League is going, where you have 3 potential teams coming out of the NL West. You have the Chicago Cubs in the Central that are one of, if not the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. Plus, the Cardinals still in it. Plus, the Brewers have been the best team in baseball since, I don't know, I think it was a month and a half ago. Over the last month and a half, the Milwaukee Brewers have quietly been the best team in baseball. There's no guarantee the Mets make the playoffs if they don't win the East. And we are letting it all just go by the wayside as they continue to vomit all over themselves. Speaking of vomit, that is what I would like to do right now, because this has just been horrific. Braziban gets 1 out, walks the first 3 batters, bases loaded. Jose Castillo comes in. What does he do? Plunks a batter. I mean, it's just insanity at this point. It's just insane. Reed Garrett comes in, gets an out, and gets 2 strikes on Matt Olson, and he rips a 2-run single into right field to give the Braves the lead. What do you know? He does it again later then in the 8th inning to extend their lead. Then it's Austin Riley with an RBI double to put this one way out of reach. Crazy to believe coming into this season, right? You sign Juan Soto, you had runner-up MVP in Francisco Lindor last year. Pete Alonso had an OPS over 1,000 for the first 2 months of the season, and 4 runs feels like an impossible task for a comeback victory for this offense. Embarrassing. Oh, let's see. Stoney says, then we put in a no-name reliever called Love Lady. Got rocked and never even heard of the guy. Dickie Love Lady just signed this week by David Stearns, and first inning looked solid, but he did get a couple hard outs there, and then obviously it showed itself in the following inning as they try to get 2 out of him. Gives up those 2 runs, and they end up being pretty important ones. Changes the entire context of that 9th inning. Who knows? Things could have went differently, but if you could have kept it at a 5-3 game, well, maybe you got Lindor up there in a different situation, or even Lindor 5-4. But changes everything. Iglesias probably starts that inning for the Braves anyway, but Dickie Lovelady, not exactly with the most impressive first outing for this team. Carson Conforto's actually the worst hitter in baseball with runners in scoring position right now, so he's a perfect fit. Wake up, David Stearns. Yeah, I mean, he would fit in perfectly. These guys would welcome him with open arms. Bring in Conforto, stick him out in left field. He can platoon with Brandon Nimmo. It's absolutely perfect. Love that idea. D-Rels, what's up, Tony? Mendoza's a horrible manager. Phillies lost. So a lot of people are pretty upset about not pushing Frankie Montas for the 6th inning. I can't get on him for that. I mean, this should have been the recipe the entire way. You get 5 innings out of Montas, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I can't blame Mendoza for it. He threw 85 pitches. It was his first start of the season. We're all complaining about seeing Paul Blackburn. The only reason Paul Blackburn is making starts in this rotation right now is because of the injuries. So do you really want to push Montas for another inning, risk him getting hurt and then having more Blackburn in the future, or worse, especially on the heels of the news we just got today that Sean Manaea has loose particles in his elbow. And that doesn't sound like a significant shutdown or, setback for him. Gave him a cortisone, shut down from pitching for the next 2 days, expected to make his next start. My point is, if you push Montas for the 6th today, number one, does it even go that well? Does he come out of that inning unscathed? Number 2, what if he gets hurt? What if he can't continue to pitch into the rotation for the rest of the year? Earlier this week, we all were dreading watching Frankie Montas pitch. Now today, because he throws 5 scoreless, and by the way, not exactly the cleanest of 5 scoreless innings for Montas, not taking anything away from him, just trying to paint the full picture here. Well, what if he doesn't continue pitching because he gets hurt, because we pushed him too early in his first start? I'm just saying the recipe was there. You go to Brazoban, you go to Reed Garrett, maybe you Stanek then if you had to at some point in the 7th or the 8th inning, and you hope that it leads the bridge to Edwin Diaz, maybe even for a 4 or 5 out save from the Mets closer. And the Mets immediately crap themselves off the bat in the top of that 6th inning. You want to blame Brazoban? I won't hold it against you. I still believe it's attrition that has trickled down to the biggest parts of this pen because the Mets have not gotten linked from their starters and they have not been supplemented with other quality relievers in the wake of losing Minter and Danny Young and all the other guys that have not been able to pull through. So I just said a mouthful. I'm sorry. You're probably bored of hearing what I just had to say with all that. Guys, what is your biggest takeaway from the game? Where's your guys' panic level right now? Because mine is at a 10. It is as high as it can get. And like I said, the next step after the panic level reaches the top is apathy. Then it becomes, well, this is who they are. Oh, well, we had a really great first 2 months and we've been exposed as frauds, and you stop caring. You stop getting worked up about it. And that is the worst thing that can happen for a team, right? That is the worst thing that can happen as a fan. Maybe not for my mental health or even my physical health at this point, because I'm in the gutter. I'm going to just be straight up with you guys. I am struggling right now. But jokes aside, that's the direction they're heading in if they don't fix things soon. Both the players that are actually on this roster, all the way up to the front office, making some additions and actually getting back into meaningful baseball, playing quality baseball. Because right now they're uncompetitive, completely uncompetitive. Whether it is the lineup, whether it is the bullpen, whether it is the starters, it is uncompetitive and it is painful to watch. So let's see. Everyday Mets says Angel Acuna gave the Mets a pitch comm to his brother. Oh my God, could you imagine Mets send down Louis and he passes over a pitch com to Ronald so that the Braves know what's coming. It feels that way when the Mets play the Braves, right? I mean, it's just insane. The Braves seem like they know what is coming when they're facing the Mets. I've never seen anything like it. They lay off of everything and they do damage on anything in the zone against the Mets. It's just absolutely insane. I want an investigation immediately on the Atlanta Braves. Specifically, though, only when they're playing the Mets, because that's when it seems like they just absolutely raked the coals over us. Let's see, D-Rails. Beatty got to go. I mean, that's the thing about Brett Beatty. Like I said, has the 2-run single early in this game that gives the Mets a 3-0 lead, and then has some really pitiful at-bats after that. The 9th inning at-bat was the most classic Beatty at-bat of all time, right? Gets ahead 3-1, takes, swings, misses, just brutal. Just another brutal at-bat from Beatty. He's not a big league player, guys, okay? He is not going to ever be a starting big league player, at least not for the New York Mets. Maybe it's a market thing. Maybe he can't do it here in New York. The pressure's just too much where he was a first-round pick out of high school in Texas. But I can guarantee you this, Brett Beatty is not a major league player for the Mets now or in the future. It sucks. Every one of the young guys that David Stearns was banking on to take a step forward this year and seize the opportunity to become a big league player and a big part of this franchise has completely spit the bit. So it is what it is. And it's looking like it's impacting this team a lot more than I think Stearns could have even anticipated. Stoney says, yeah, I turned it off in the 7th inning, so I don't know what happened after that. Yeah, you didn't miss much. The Mets put together another blue balls rally in the 9th like they always do. They get the tying run to the plate in Francisco Lindor, and they don't do anything after that. He grounds out. So you didn't miss a whole lot. But Two Cats, I don't remember the last time they had a stretch of going 1-10 in 11 games. Seriously, this is bad. Well, the last time they lost 9 out of 10 was in 2023, and we all know what a crap show that season was for the Mets. It ended with them trading Scherzer and Verlander and Tommy Pham at the deadline, along with David Robertson, who, by the way, is a free agent the Mets could use right now, huh? David Stearns, get on the phone. That'd be nice. But I don't know if they ended up going 1-10 during that stretch, but they did lose 9 out of 10. So, yeah, hopefully this season does not mirror the 2023 season, because that will do some real damage to my psyche. D-Rails, you wanted to push Montas. Okay, stop babying the pitchers. This is why I stopped watching sports. Players too soft. I mean, it just is what it is, man. Look, if I'm the manager, I'm going off feeling, I'm going off vibes, but they also got a lot invested in these guys. And for the long-term good of this team, you're better off probably having Frankie Montas pitch than Paul Blackburn making starts for your team. And I think that's what they had to do, is think about it that way. And I don't even think it was a decision. I think they had an 85 pitch limit, 90 pitch limit max for Montas. He finished the 5th with 85 pitches, clean, scoreless, 5 innings of baseball. We could not have dreamt of a better start for Frankie Montas in his season debut. And we're still here left asking for more. And unfortunately, the bullpen just doesn't do its job. And now that story becomes an afterthought on the impressive season debut from Frankie Montas. Let's see. D-Rails doesn't think the players respect Mendoza. Wow. Okay. What gives you that indication? Because honestly, I don't think it's that. I just think that there's a lack of urgency from these guys. And so maybe that does stem from Mendoza, but I honestly do think Mendoza can be a fiery guy. Like, he doesn't seem like super laid back, especially not during a stretch like the Mets are going through right now. But I don't know, man. There's something fishy going on in that clubhouse. And honestly, I've said it over and over again, and it's totally just a fake narrative that I have in my head. It's Jeff McNeil, okay? I think it's Jeff McNeil. Even when Jeff's going good, it's like the cancer of a team, you know? It grows. And so even if Jeff's going good, the rest of the team around him does poorly. So I don't know. I'm making this up. It's obviously probably not the truth, but there's some weird vibes. They were playing really good ball until Jeff came back. I'm just saying. Let's see. Stoney says, I'm scared if we get a big lead when comes near at the end of the season in first place and we blow it like we did with the Braves when they passed us. Yeah, like a 7 or 10 game lead. Yeah, so 2021, the Mets had a huge lead. 2022, they had a lead as well. 21, they didn't make the playoffs, obviously. And that season actually seems a lot more reflective of this one. 2021 and this season seem really reminiscent of each other, where the Mets were kind of coasting in the beginning of the season, 15 games over 500, 10-game lead or something like that in the East. But the quality of the wins weren't really there. You know, they were like getting walk-off hit by pitches, and, you know, they were winning games 3-2 against the Marlins, or, you know, just all these kinds of wins that weren't exactly impressive. And it caught up with them finally as other teams got going and as the competition got stiffer. And that's exactly how 2025 is feeling right now. The Mets kind of coasted in the beginning of the year. I wouldn't say there weren't some high quality and impressive wins from them in those first 2 months of the season. Obviously, look at what they did with the Dodgers, but there were some ugly losses mixed in there as well. The warts of this team were showing in the early going, and we ignored it because the Mets were still finding ways to win. Most of that on the back of the pitching staff that was pitching at a historic but unsustainable rate. And now that the pitching staff has gotten injured and started to come back to earth, the hitting, that was always the issue of not getting the job done with runners in scoring position, has turned into this horrifying, ugly monster that is absolutely killing the Mets on a night-to-night basis. 2 hits entering the 9th inning tonight. 3 runs, great, but 2 hits entering the 9th. They can take advantage of Spencer Strider walking the bases loaded. They get the 3 runs. It could have broke out for a little bit more, but let's be honest, it came off the back of 3 walks. 2 freaking hits. Does it matter who the Braves have in their bullpen? They could put my grandmother in their bullpen. If she was wearing a Braves uniform, the New York Mets would not be able to hit her. I don't get it. They turn out these relievers that dominate the Mets every freaking year. Dudes I've never even heard of. I just don't understand what has happened to this team. Let's see, Nico. Jet Williams honestly may need to come up soon, and I may be crazy. I am, but hopefully not. I mean, I don't think the Mets are going to do that. He's in Double-A. You're not going to try and make a young kid like that you have high hopes for be a savior for this organization, for this franchise. And they're not just one player away from turning this thing around. They are multiple players in multiple different areas of need, and they need to get the performance from the guys that are currently on the roster. So I don't think Jet Williams has happened this year. I don't want to do that and stunt his growth anyway, unless he truly is ready. So honestly, I'm against bringing up Jet Williams unless the Mets have decided, yeah, he's ready for the big leagues, but I don't think that is the case. So like the idea, don't think it's going to be the case. Stoney, no, I see Mendoza getting mad and throwing a chair to wake these guys up. Yeah, I feel that same way, Stoney. I don't think that, Mendy is just a passive guy that doesn't care and it's just like, oh, we did. What he says in the media is different from what I think he says to the guys in the clubhouse. But maybe it's high time he does start talking through the media to his players. And he kind of touched on it yesterday when he basically said the bottom of the order ain't doing jack. Not in those words, but he called out the bottom of the order yesterday. And maybe he's going to have to continue to get a little more harsh in his words with the media. That, or he needs to find some other approach, because clearly it is not getting through to these guys. Part of it, I think, is talent. Part of it is lethargy from these guys. They have a mental break right now, a mental block that they just cannot seem to hurdle. You don't lose 10 out of 11 games without it starting to catch into your head. You don't lose 10 out of 11 games without starting to come to the ballpark and think, geez, this is going to suck again. Man, how are we going to do it today? We got Strider on the mound today, and then the other day it was Zach Wheeler, and then it was Sale and Strider and Schwellenbach. It just starts to seep into your head, the negative thought. The Mets need a saging, in my opinion. I think that's the only way that they can turn things around, because this is unlike anything that I have seen from the Mets or a Mets team in a really, really long time. Guys, if you want to join the show, you can do that right now. The phone lines are open. Go to my Discord. The link is in the description below. head over there. You'll go into the waiting room, and then I'll drag you in when I see your name and we're ready to take calls. But man, another brutal loss for the Mets today. Let's take a look at the box score here. I'm going to switch over to this screen so you guys can take a look as well. I mean, I'm ready to throw this computer screen out the window, if I'm being totally honest with you guys. It's been a really, really bad couple of weeks. Look at these two pitches that Lindor had in that final at-bat from Raisel Iglesias. This is the one he swung on and missed, and this is the ball that he ended up grounding out on. And I can't even be mad at Lindor because he's been better since the series with the Phillies. He was great over the weekend. Had a good game yesterday for them with 2 hits, but that just hurts to see. Middle, low, just where he likes it from the left-handed side of the plate. Instead, Lindor ends up 0-for-5 with 2 strikeouts in this game. Hitless again. And it's just a crap show for this lineup. Nimmo 0-for-4. He has been quietly slumping over these last few games. Juan Soto 0-for-2, but as usual with his 2 walks. Pete Alonso had a knock in this one. 1-for-4 though with 2 strikeouts. Starling Marte hitless in 3 at-bats. He does draw a walk along with McNeil and Torrens in that inning. Back in the 4th, that set up the Mets 3 runs there. Luis Torrens hitless though. McNeil did have 1 hit. Jared Young, who would have thunk it? 1-for-1 with his pinch hit opportunity there in the 9th inning. Pinch hitting for Luis Torrens. Kind of crazy there. And then Brett Beatty had that RBI knock, but of course also has 2 strikeouts. It wouldn't be a Brett Beatty night without at least 2 strikeouts. Good for Ronnie. He had a bad strikeout in this one. He nearly came close to hitting a 3-run homer in that 4th inning that I was devastated over. My girlfriend was like, "What are you so mad about? They're winning 3-0. I was like, "Oh, just watch. Just watch." 3-0? You think 3-0 is enough to beat the Braves? Yeah, just watch. And what do you know? 2 innings later, 5 spot for the Braves in the top of the 6th. But Mauricio did have the RBI double with 2 outs there in the 9th. So a couple of good swings from him. Still clearly don't believe that he is ready to be in the big league. So as soon as Mark Vientos is called up, I do believe that they're going to be sending Mauricio back down. I'm trying to get to the pitching here for us. There we go. It's actually right here. So pitching, Montas goes 5 innings, gives up 3 hits, 3 walks, but he does strike out 5, including Acuna. I think he got him twice, actually. So that was really impressive. Great sign to get this from Frankie Montas. If things are going to turn around, it's got to start with the pitching getting back to what it was doing the first 2 months of the season. And hopefully, maybe, finally, probably not, the lineup ever living up to the hype that we had for it on paper. You can finally get those things to happen. Maybe they'll start winning ball games again, or at least not getting embarrassed, but probably asking for too much. Braziban walks the first 3 batters of the top of the 6th inning. It's a shit show. Jose Castillo. Oh my God, I got my horrible Castillos mixed up. Jose comes in. He gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, all 3 to Braziban. Reed Garrett actually gave up the 2-run single to Olsen that were both charged to Castillo, but Garrett able to get the final 2 outs, of course. And then it was Dickie Lovelady for an inning and 2/3, giving up 2 runs on 2 walks and a hit. Daniel Nunez finally cleaning up the rest of it. But I mean, guys, it's bad. It's real bad right now. I don't really know what else to say at this point. It's been a horrible streak of baseball for the Mets, and I don't see any end in sight at this point. So they got 2 more with the Braves, and they're looking down the barrel of losing the first 7 games of the season with Atlanta if they don't find a way to win them, at least one of them. I mean, to get 4 games swept by a division rival is bad. To get 4 games swept by a division rival at home that is chasing you in the standings, that has already closed 5 games of ground on you in the last 2 weeks, is just unacceptable. I can't believe what has happened to this team, guys. They are now what? I think 45 and come on, where's the freaking record? MLB.com. Oh my goodness. 46 and 34. The Mets are 12 games over 500. They are now 8 games ahead of Atlanta. They were 13 games ahead of them this time a week and 2 days ago. Philly a game and a half ahead of us. Yeah, the Mets are still +2 in the top wild card spot. Great, whoop-de-doo. Throw them a parade. Awesome. I mean, I'm going to show you guys the standings here so you can see as well. I mean, this is how bad it's been. This is how bad it has gotten, folks. The Mets are 1.5 behind the Phillies now. They are only 8 games ahead of Atlanta when they were 13 games ahead of them this time last week, basically, before the 3-game series with them in Atlanta. Yeah, the Mets are still +2 there, but how about this? 1-9 in their last 10. They have lost 10 of 11. They have lost 3 in a row right now. That run differential has dropped from somewhere in the +90s, almost plus triple digits, to just +57. And you know what? Based on that, we're actually exactly where we should be based on the expected win-loss Pythagorean, 46 and 34. So maybe this is God's way, baseball God's way, of giving us a slap back to reality and that we deserved. Because let's be honest, before that series with Tampa Bay, the Mets were 27 and 7 at home. How insane is that? 20 games over 500 through your first, 34 games at home? Well, now they've lost 5 in a row. 3 to Tampa, these 2 to Atlanta, and now it's a much more expected 27 and 12. So maybe this is the baseball God's way of just telling us you ain't that good. But this is a really, really harsh way of bringing us back to reality. That's all I got to say about it. So, guys, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking? What's your panic level? I've said it. I'm at a 10. This is crazy. I'm hoping it doesn't get worse than this. The only thing that gets worse than this is that you start to realize, wow, they really are just a terrible team and they can't do anything. They're done. Nico, got to go. See you, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's see. Stoney says, I can see, no, I'm sorry, you said that already. Someone was talking about JD Martinez assigned to be our hitting coach. What's your thoughts on that, Tony? I don't know if JD Martinez actually has any interest in that. I do think he was a really calming presence in the dugout as a player for this team last year, but I don't know if I could speak to him as a hitting coach. I actually would think he'd be a really good one considering the journey he went through his MLB career where he completely changed his swing from a failed prospect with Houston, then becoming a star with Detroit. So yeah, I could see that in his future if he wants it. But last I heard, JD Martinez was pursuing a professional pickleball career. So I don't know. Would you rather be playing pickleball in Florida or hanging out in Queens in this 98-degree weather like today and just absolutely getting embarrassed by Atlanta? I don't know. But it's not a bad idea. I don't actually see it happen. But Eric Chavez has got to go now, like tonight, like pack his office and get out of here. I am done with Eric Chavez. Jimmy James says Mendoza's not motivating this team. I mean, I just don't have any factual proof of that. I think that Mendy probably is a lot more intense than he portrays himself in the media, but I just don't have actual proof that he does or that he doesn't. But we do know that a manager or a team is usually a reflection of its manager. I think Mendy's a good manager. Something ain't right about this team right now, though. The fact they can't get up for these games, the most important games here to round out the first half of the season, is definitely questionable at best. And it might be partly or entirely on Mendoza. So I'm not going to say you're wrong on that. I'm going to just say until I see definitive proof that he's the problem, I got to go with the players not performing. I got to go with the lineup getting 2 hits leading into the 9th inning tonight. Just 5 total. Just 6 yesterday. Just 4 on Sunday. I got to go with David Peterson throwing a clunker on Sunday. And with Paul Blackburn only lasting 3 1/3 innings yesterday. And the bullpen giving them 4 1/3 scoreless yesterday. And then today turning around and crapping all down their own legs in the very first inning that they're asked to pitch in relief. It has just been a total carousel of crap from this team from every different possible avenue. Bullpen, starting, lineup. You pick which night, and one of them will find a way to screw it up for this team. Let's see. Bella Videos 132. Braves will be 5 or less back by the break, and that's bad news for everybody. Yep. definitely is bad news for the Mets. No doubt about that. If they are not careful by the All-Star break and they are teetering between third place with the Braves, I'm not feeling so hot about the Mets' chances of making the playoffs this year. And that is wild to say, considering how these first 2 months were. God doesn't like being mocked. They don't have the same never give up attitude they had for the second half of last year. I mean, right now they don't. Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I hope that they can turn it around. They had a lot of walk-off wins in the beginning of the season. They had a lot of comeback wins in the beginning of the season as well. So I don't know if it's fair to say they don't have that attitude or that chemistry about them as a team. But right now, they definitely do not appear to have that swagger about them, that feeling that they're never out of a game. So I can't disagree with you there, Jimmy James. Stoney, you're amazing at what you do, Tony. Glad to have you as a Mets streamer. Thank you. Appreciate you, Stoney. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone that is tuning in right now. Guys, if you are new and not subscribed, please be sure to do so. Really appreciate it. Daily Mets content, post-game recap after every single game, and much more. And please be sure to leave this video a like. Really helps my channel out a lot. So thank you to all of you guys for being here, and to you, Stone. So guys, real quick, before we wrap things up, because my head feels like it's about to explode, let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. The Mets are going to be throwing, I believe it is Clay Holmes. Let me take a look here as we get on MLB.com. Oh boy, I can't believe the Mets have 2 consecutive more games before an off day. I, as a fan, need an off day. Yes, it is Clay Holmes. And the Braves, in place of Chris Sale, who got injured, will be pitching Didier Fuentes, who is a 20-year-old right-hander so far in his career. A total of 5 innings and a 7.20 ERA in his lone start against Miami over this weekend. Of course, when they lost 2 out of 3 to Miami, Didier Fuentes got absolutely shelled. So naturally, tomorrow the Mets will have 2 hits off of him through 6 innings. That's just pretty much how it goes with the Mets and with the Braves. The Braves come to play like it's their World Series against the Mets. They lay down for everybody else. So don't be surprised if Didier Fuentes up here just absolutely shoves against the Mets. The kid can't even go and buy a legal drink of alcohol in the United States right now. And I have a feeling he is going to absolutely just dominate the Mets tomorrow. And then meanwhile, Clay Holmes is coming off a somewhat rough outing his last time out. Overall for the year, 7-4, 3.04 ERA. His last time out, though, against Atlanta, lasted into the 5th inning. Couldn't get the final out of that one, but he did end up giving up 3 earned on 6 walks. So, I mean, numbers-wise, as far as earned runs in that, it wasn't his worst start of the year. He had a 4-run appearance, that one against Pittsburgh. But the 6 walks, a major, major concern, more than double the amount of walks that he has issued in any of his other starts this season. So hopefully the Mets don't get a repeat of what they got last time Holmes was out against the Braves. But with the way the Mets are going right now, would I be surprised? Honestly, no. This has been horrible. I am at a loss for words. Doesn't seem like it, probably because I've been talking for 45 straight minutes about how brutal this team is. But guys, hopefully the tides finally start to turn. They got to find a way to win. I would say both of these next 2 games with Atlanta will avoid losing the series. But honestly, at this point, I'll just settle for 1. How embarrassing is that? 4-game series with the Braves at home, staring down the barrel of potentially going 1-9 in this 10-game stretch with Philly and with Atlanta. But these are the cards we have been dealt, and it sucks. It is what it is, and there's still a lot of season left, so I'm not declaring them dead. But if it doesn't turn around soon, it's going to get closer and closer to having them just nosedive off of this cliff. So guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Really appreciate you guys all tuning in. Again, the Mets embarrassed as the bullpen implodes. The Braves crushing them for 5 runs in the 6th inning. They go on to defeat the Mets by a final of 7-4. We will be right back with another post-game recap after the conclusion of tomorrow's game. The Mets taking on the Braves in Game 3 of this series. Clay Holmes on the mound, looking to stop the bleeding against the rookie Didier Fuentes for the Braves. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Thank you to D-Rail. Thank you to Nico, to Robert Lupinacci, Everyday Mets, Philip Wingo. Thank you to Stoney. Thank you to Carson. Thank you to Two Cats. Thank you to Jimmy James C. And thank you to Nico as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you also to Bella Videos 132. Couldn't do it without all of you guys. Thanks so much for being in the chat. Thanks for this Mets therapy. I needed it. Don't know if I helped you guys, but hopefully just a little bit. So guys, again, tomorrow, immediately after game 3 of Mets and Braves, another post-game recap right here on my channel. That's going to do it for right now. Till next time, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.